Hello and welcome back to Next Flying, your go-to destination for all things Heartland. If you love Heartland as much as we do, you're in the right place. Before we dive into today's emotional and beautiful topic, Borden'S grand return in Heartland Season 19, Episode 1. Don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment below telling us your favourite Borden memory, and subscribe to Next Flying for more updates, breakdowns, and heartfelt moments from Heartland. And of course, hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that touches your heart. Let's get started right away because this one is unique. The most important aspect of Heartland Season 19, Episode 1, is Borden'S return, which is more than just a character appearance. Since Ty's tragic departure, the entire family, especially Amy, has carried a piece of him with them every day. Their work with horses, their memories of him, and their hope all reflected his spirit. However, in Season 19, seeing him in person is like giving the ranch new life. Ty represents healing, unfinished dreams, and the reminder that true love and family never really fade away. His return changes the dynamic of the family, reshaping old wounds into new beginnings. Ty's significance stems not only from his connection to Amy, but also from the manner in which each character reclaims a part of themselves through him. Ty's presence in Season 19, Episode 1, shows us and the Heartland family as a whole that love can overcome even the most profound loss. The writers of Heartland crafted Ty's return with breathtaking care, setting the stage throughout the opening minutes of the episode. It's not just about him walking through the door, it's the energy that builds before it happens. The episode begins with subtle clues, such as dusting off old pictures, a wild horse that won't be tamed, and a sense of unease that can't be contained by the vast Alberta skies. Amy can feel it. Even though she is too young to remember it clearly, Lindy dreams about her father's laugh. Jack stares out over the land, lost in thought. There is tension and the impression that something significant is about to occur. When Ty finally appears, it's not loud, it's quiet, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. His return is grounded in the emotional reality of Heartland. There were no gimmicks or tricks. Rather, it was just a man in love and regret entering a world that had never truly forgotten him. The show lets you feel every heartbeat leading up to that moment without rushing through it. Amy's emotional journey, the moment she sees Ty again, is nothing short of breathtaking. She doesn't run into his arms right away. Instead, she has a look on her face that almost screams fear or disbelief. Is this real? Has her heart tricked her again? Tears immediately spring to her eyes, but she's frozen. Time seems to stop around her. In that silence, you see every ounce of grief, love, and longing she's carried for years. It's like a dam breaking when Ty finally calls her name. She runs toward him, half laughing and half crying. Tears are running down her cheeks. This isn't a fairy tale reunion. It's raw, messy, and full of unspoken pain. She touches his face as though she is afraid he will vanish. Amy's journey through the previous seasons, from strength to struggle, comes to an end in that one word: Ty. This reunion is about more than lost love. It's about forgiveness, second chances, and the strength it takes to let your heart believe in miracles again. The moment Lindy spotted Ty standing by the barn, everything around her seemed to fade away. The noise of the horses, the gentle calls of Amy and Jack. It all became distant as her young heart focused on the figure she had only seen in dreams and photos. At first, she didn't move. The battered toy horse that Ty had given her years ago was in her tiny hands, serving as a shield against the outside world. Her eyes widened, not fully understanding but feeling an overwhelming pull toward him. It was a moment of pure innocence, one where logic didn't matter and only love spoke. A few seconds passed that felt like hours, and then, without a single word, Lindy dropped the toy and sprinted across the barnyard, her boots kicking up little clouds of dust. When she collided into Ty's embrace, it was as if the shattered pieces of her tiny heart were stitched back together in an instant. Ty knelt down, arms wide open. She clung to him with all her might and buried her face in his jacket, vowing never to let go. Tears streamed down Ty's face as he hugged his daughter tightly, overwhelmed by the strength of her unconditional love. Lindy didn't need explanations, apologies, or promises. Her innocent heart simply accepted that her daddy was home. And for her, that was enough to erase years of sadness. In that powerful embrace, the healing began, not just for Lindy but for the whole family. Jack Bartlett stood off to the side, watching the emotional reunion unfold with the weight of 1,000 emotions pressing down on his chest. Over the years, Jack had been the rock, the one who bore everyone's sorrow in silence while making sure the family never lost their way. It was almost too much for his old heart to bear to see Ty, his grandson-in-law, the boy he had coached, fought with, and eventually loved like a son, standing there alive. Jack's blue eyes, usually so sharp and steady, shimmered with unshed tears. But he didn't go any faster because he knew better. Jack understood that some moments belonged to others first. He waited, breathing in deeply the familiar scent of horses, hay, and earth, steadying himself. When he finally approached, there was no dramatic hug or outburst. Instead, Jack firmly gripped Ty's shoulder with a sturdy, weathered hand. The simple gesture said everything. "Welcome home. I missed you. I'm proud of you." Jack's voice, low and rough from emotion, broke the quiet between them. With a small, wry smile on his lips, he said, "You always did take the long way home, kid." Jack's wisdom shone through in that exchange as Ty laughed through his tears. He taught everyone by example that true love is patient, that real strength lies in understanding, and that sometimes life's miracles come at the most unexpected moments. And when they do, all you need to do is hold on with everything you have. Lou Fleming had always been the planner, the fixer, the one who carried the family forward when others faltered. She had tried to help Amy rebuild her life after Ty's death, whispering words of encouragement to Lindy when she cried for the father she barely remembered. When Ty appeared before her, very much alive, Lou's emotions hit her like a tidal wave. She froze, torn between overwhelming relief and the deep scars of grief that had shaped the last few years. Tears filled her eyes as she struggled to find her voice. Part of her wanted to run to him, to rejoice like everyone else, but another part, the guarded, wounded part, held her back, afraid to believe it was real. Finally, as Ty opened his arms to her, Lou broke down, crossing the distance between them in a few hurried steps and hugging him fiercely. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You don't know what we went through without you." Ty's arms tightened around her, and in that moment, Lou allowed herself to hope again. Hope that maybe they could reclaim the pieces of their family, rebuild the bonds that had been shattered, and trust and love once more. Her heart, once so full of fear and pain, dared to open again, welcoming Ty back into the family he had never truly left. Georgie stood a little ways off, her arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with eyes far older than her years. She had grown up with Ty as her mentor, her big brother figure, her inspiration, and losing him had forced her to grow up even faster. But now, seeing him again, something inside her softened. The fierce, independent woman she had become, strong from competition, life, and loss, felt the old, familiar warmth of family flood back into her heart. She approached Ty cautiously and slowly, almost as if she was afraid she would miss him. But when he smiled at her, the easy, encouraging smile that had gotten her through so many rough patches in the past, her guard broke. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she wrapped her arms around him in a hug that said everything she couldn't put into words. "You taught me to fight for what I believe in," Georgie whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "And you were worth fighting for." Georgie realized that her development was about incorporating the lessons he had taught her into every aspect of her life, not just becoming stronger without him, as Ty ruffled her hair as he used to. His return didn't erase the hard years, but it gave them new meaning. And for Georgie, that was a priceless gift. Tim Fleming stood stiffly at the edge of the gathering, arms crossed tightly across his chest, his mouth set in a hard line. His instincts screamed to protect his family, to stay tough, to question everything. After all, life had taught Tim that happiness could be ripped away in an instant, and trust was a fragile thing. But as he watched Ty hug Lindy, comfort Amy, and laugh tearfully with Jack and Lou, something inside him cracked. Tim hurriedly cleared his throat and moved toward Ty, his boots kicking up dust as he went. His face was unreadable, but his eyes betrayed the storm raging inside him. When he reached Ty, he didn't say anything at first. He just grabbed him into a rough, crushing hug that spoke louder than words. After a moment, Tim pulled back, his voice gruff as he muttered, "Don't think you're off the hook, kid. You've got a lot to explain." But his hand lingered on Ty's shoulder, and the tremble in his voice gave him away. Underneath all the bluster, Tim's heart was breaking open with relief and gratitude. He had lost so much in his life, but today he had gotten a miracle back. And for a man like Tim, who loved deeper than he ever let on, that meant everything. Ty and Amy finally found a moment away from the day's overwhelming emotions as the sun set behind the familiar silhouette of the Heartland barn, and the sky turned orange and deep violet. They walked together to their old spot by the pond, the place where dreams had once been whispered and promises had been made under the vast Alberta sky. The air was cool, and the gentle rustling of the trees seemed to echo the tremor in Amy's heart. They sat side by side on the grass, close but careful, as if both were afraid that if they moved too fast, the fragile miracle between them might shatter. Amy turned to him first, her hands nervously twisting the hem of her sweater, her throat tight with all the words she didn't know how to say. Ty, sensing her struggle, reached out and gently tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, his touch so familiar yet so achingly foreign after all the years apart. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I fought so hard to come back to you, Amy. Toward Lindy, I never wanted to leave you alone." Amy's tears slipped silently down her cheeks as she shook her head. "You didn't leave us, Ty," she whispered back, her voice trembling. "You were taken from us, and I had to find a way to live without you, but I never stopped loving you, not for a second." Ty's hand found hers, calloused and strong, and she clung to it desperately, as if anchoring herself to the reality of him being there. They spoke about the pain, the loneliness, and the thought of each other being the only light in the darkness that kept them going. They cried together, their tears soaking into the earth that had witnessed every chapter of their love story. After the flood of pain came the tentative dreams, spoken softly between lingering glances and trembling smiles. "We can't erase what happened," Amy said, her voice steadier now. "But maybe we can write a new story. For us, for Lindy." Ty squeezed her hand and nodded, his eyes shimmering with a mixture of grief and hope. "I want that," he whispered fiercely. "I want every moment I have left to be with you." Ty grabbed Amy in his arms and held her more tightly than he had ever held her before, as the stars above them appeared. In the shelter of his embrace, Amy closed her eyes and allowed herself, for the first time in what felt like forever, to imagine a future not defined by loss, but by love rekindled. A future where every heartbeat, every breath, was a gift they would never take for granted again. And that brings us to the end of this emotional journey. Fans of Heartland, Ty Borden'S triumphant return has enchanted us all. Seeing him reunite with Amy, Lindy, and the whole family reminds us why we fell in love with this show in the first place. If you felt the same wave of emotions, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did Ty and Amy's conversation move you? What are your hopes for their future in Heartland Season 19? Drop your feelings in the comments below. I read every single one and love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Next Flying, and tap the notification bell so you never miss any updates, breakdowns, and heartfelt moments from Heartland and beyond.